What is going on, you guys? This is your boy Aries from Aries Game Productions, and today I'm going to be looking at a little bit of uh, just some things that really just kind of piqued my interest. Is like the more Warframes that I'm actually getting, the more I realize that some of them are just completely more useful than others. Which is kind of sad, honestly, but as you can see, I know I probably talked about it in my last video, but I did end up getting Master Rank 10, which is a really big milestone. Really, Master Rank 9 is probably a bigger milestone because you can start getting a lot more energy weapons, and I'm going to be talking about one of them in particular that has been carrying me hard throughout my star chart run, but especially towards kind of the upper levels. But I'm going to kind of be going over a little bit of uh, what my thoughts are on just some of the Warframes that I've actually been trying out, been playing. I actually did just get a kind of a mod that I've been trying to get a lot for a pretty long time. This thing called Split Chamber. It's a plus 15 multi-shot for a rifle, and I'm going to be trying to build up the Bratton Prime as well as the Ignis Wraith, which I am currently using right now. It's the Ignis Wraith, and I think there's another weapon called, I think, the Acreus or something like that. It's another energy weapon that you can get from, just reaching a certain master rank. I think that one is master rank 9. And I think both of those are actually master rank 9. But good thing about the Bratton Prime, whenever you do craft it, is that it doesn't cost anything as far as like your mastery rank. You can get it at literally any mastery rank you start at. So if you're newer to the game, I would definitely encourage to start building up the Bratton Prime before anything else, because my Bratton Prime carried me through a lot of the master ranks, and the Heck shotgun, once you rank master rank 4, I think, once you get that master rank, it just becomes a lot easier to do that. What I would also encourage you to do, if you're having trouble getting your stuff up leveled up very quickly, and you're not in the star chart very yet, I would go ahead and start investing some platinum into the affinity boosters they're going to get, like for EXP essentially. Affinity is EXP in this game. So I actually don't have one, but what I like to do is just go pick a very low Warframe that I have with me. Like for example, I just crafted I just actually got Mag and Inaros today, and we're going to be talking about this bad boy later on, because I don't know what they're fucking thinking with this Warframe. He's really good, and he's only rank 17 for me, and I don't even have any forma invested in him or anything like that. This Warframe is just godlike. It really is. Like, this Warframe is godlike. So I'm actually really glad I got this, just this mod in general, because I know a lot of people recommend this for anything that's like a multi-shot weapon, or like a rifle or shotgun or anything like that. Really useful for those types of stuff. So I actually just got that, so I'm probably going to start investing a little bit more into that. But like the video says, we're going to be kind of going down my Warframes, kind of just as far as just showing off some of their abilities and what they actually do. So Banshee passive, weapon noises are hushed so the enemies cannot hear them. That's a really good passive, actually. Like, it's super good, because if you have a weapon that causes a lot of noise, you can basically just pick Banshee for like a solo mission. If you're doing like a spy or infiltrate mission, she's really good for that, because all of your weapons that would make noise Uh, they don't anymore. Like this passive just silences all weapons, which is really good actually for like spy missions. Um, Banshee, I'm going to put, I give him a grade from like A to F. Uh, Luckily, I don't think there are any Warframes that I play right now that are F. Um, None of these Warframes fail. So, the Warframes that you have, basically you can run them at any like difficulty level that you want to try to, but they're just Warframes that do things better than others right now. I would put Banshee to B. So she's a pretty solid B. She does things really well. Like I said, she's a really good stealth Warframe too, because she's really squishy. So first ability, Sonic Boom, emits a sonic wave that pushes targets in range and the force to incapacitate or kill attackers. You're not going to be really using a whole lot of Sonic Boom. You're just not. This weapon, I mean not this weapon, but this ability doesn't really do a whole lot. It can, I guess, if you like have your, if you invest a lot in her, she does a lot. But besides that, this ability's not really good. Sonar uses acoustic location. Banshee center power finds, attracts enemies, and exposes critical weak spots to everyone in your squad. That can be useful for bosses. But most of the boss runs they're gonna do on like on a local run, I mean, you're probably gonna have somebody that's like master rank 18 with you, and they're just gonna melt the boss. So sonar is not really very useful unless you're fighting a boss solo that you haven't fought before, and then this becomes useful. So it's not really that good of an ability unless you're solo. This is the best ability she has. Um, it literally just makes people just have a midlife crisis right before right literally like right before you know, she really does anything. Like before they even see you, they start having a migraine. And basically the ability just surrounds Banshee with an aura that stuns enemies and will limit their perceptions and tactical response to gunfire and Warframe attacks. It's really good. Like that's a pretty much a godlike ability if you have the duration up. I have it for 33, really over 33 seconds. So if somebody comes near my vicinity and I have this ability up, they're not going to move for about 10 seconds. They'll still respond to stuff after that, but they respond slower to it, which is really good. But of course, her last ability, Soundquake, channel over acoustic energy in the environment. Banshee uses ultrasonic reverberations to violently shake the ground. That ability is not too particularly good compared to Silence, and if you have a really good weapon attached to your Warframe with that, you can clear out rooms of enemies before they even know what happened. So, like I said, a pretty good Warframe. B, right at B. She's still really good. She's still a really good Warframe. Definitely use her when you can. And of course, she is max rank, so I've been playing with her for a little bit as well. My only Prime Warframe that I actually have right now, Chroma Prime, passive. Chosen emissive color dictates the type of elemental damage dealt by abilities. That's actually still a really good passive. It's not as useful as you would probably think it would be because, like, I mean, obviously there's some enemies who are more susceptible to damage than others, and you can actually mod your weapon to have more of that than just his passive. So his passive's alright. Spectral Scream, exhale a deep breath of elemental destruction. Again, you know, just because of his passive. Emissive color determines the element. So that kind of ties along with his passive, obviously. This ability is dog shit. Don't use this ability. I used it for a little bit, thinking it will do something. It does nothing. I don't know what Digital Extremes is thinking by just making certain abilities dog shit and other abilities really good on Warframes, but this ability is not good. What you will be using are basically your 2 and your 3 right here. Your 2, Elemental Ward, depending on Chroma's elemental alignment, an offensive area of effect is created if Chroma and its nearby allies are imbued with defensive energy. So you see basically your armor gets amped up, your damage multiplier gets amped up, your status chance gets amped up, especially if you have a weapon like I do with the Ignis Wraith, who already has a really good status chance with some mods that I have on it. It's basically it's GG. Like if you had this ability on and you have your Ignis Wraith and you're just plowing through enemies, like you turn off the game. Like it's stupid. It really is. And kind of the weird thing about it though is that once you combine it with Vex armor, so this is really broken too. So when shields are hit, Chroma's armor becomes stronger. When your health takes a hit, weapon damage increases. So if you pop your 2 and if you pop your 3 at the same time, like pop your 2 first and then pop your 3, you could have the potential to do just amazing damage. And this is a prime Warframe too. I actually do not have Chroma, just regular Chroma. I don't. I think he's a little bit too taxing on newer players to build. Chroma Prime's actually a little bit easier to get, I think, in my opinion. So just look at this, a max out Chroma Prime. Your duration is pretty much 30 seconds. Radius, your armor increase is 402%. 402%. That should just tell you everything. Damage increase, 316% on a max Chroma Prime with the right mods. That's stupid. It's absolutely dumb. Again, I don't know what Digital Extremes is thinking. Effigy, you're really not going to use this too often. Your armor does look pretty cool on you, but you can literally take your armor off. It becomes a dragon that just starts flamethrowing shit in the background. It does cost a pretty good bit of energy to actually do this ability, which is why it's not really too good. The health on that thing is actually stupid. It's 9,200 health at max rank. Of course, again, given the right mods. Extra credit chance, speed increase, armor reduction. A lot of that just pretty much has to do with you taking off your armor and, giving it kind of a little bit of stuff that way. But you really don't want to use your 1 and 4 on him. Like you really just want to use your 2 and 3 because you become you become Christ Jesus. I mean, you will maybe killed, but you'll rise in 3 days, and you'll just get all the stuff back to you, and you'll basically just become a DPS monster. For those of you who don't know, DPS is damage per second. That's basically what you want this Warframe for, because again, damage multiplier, almost 4 times your damage. Damage increase again with Vex armor, 316%. This guy's an animal. He's an absolute animal, and he's the poor man's Lubu with my broken scepter with there too. So, Ember. Haven't really used this Warframe. Just for my argument's sake, I've used these Warframes at least all of them once before I started this, and it was just during the day today. And so I just kind of went on a mission with at least one of them per map that I try to do, just to see what I really thought about them. So Ember, passive, regenerates 10 energy and increases ability strength by 35% while on fire. That can be good against pretty much the only enemy that does fire damage, which is the Grineer. So she can actually just melt the Grineer. Like if you're getting 10 energy back, and you increase your ability strength by 35% while on fire. So if like a napalm or a bombarder hits you, you have the potential to just like melt them and be really good. So but I don't know if I actually get my last Chroma Prime a rank before I did this. Chroma Prime's like an A+. He's super good. Ember is a solid C. She does really good stuff because right now Using her fireball ability, charge and release a fire projectile that ignites enemies, leaves it behind a treacherous path of flames. Um, it's good. The damage on it is just not there. Like, this ability is useless. Even at level 30, and with some good mods, like, this ability is just trash. I don't know why this ability is trash, because it seems like it will just be really good, like a starter ability where you would just like pop it and it would just do damage. It's really bad. It's really bad. This is her best ability by far. Accelerant. You stun enemies, and you increase all fire damage dealt. So I guess if you pop that and Fireball, you could do some damage, but Fireball's just crap. So you're really going to use this for stun, which is really good for enemies. If you stun them, it's really going to be really good. Fire Blast, slam the ground to create a wave of plasma that seriously enemies all your body and forms a persistent ring of fire. Add heat damage to weapons by firing them through the ring. So like with her, with the Ignis Wraith, you could actually do a really good bit of damage. You pop this ability, just let it loose with the Ignis Wraith, and you're probably going to do a good bit of damage. Even if you pop your 2 and 3 right after each other, you're going to do a pretty good bit of damage. World on Fire got nerfed, apparently, like really bad. So this ability just is, again, it's dog shit. You want to use your 2 and 3. Basically pretty similar to Chroma in that way, where you're just going to use your 2 and 3 pretty much most of the time. But we have the poster boy of Warframe, Excalibur. This Warframe's an A. Even after I played him, out of all the Warframes that I have, sometimes I'll just go back to Excalibur just to play him. He's just so consistent. He's so good. He was the original Tenno, you know. So he's got to obviously have a pretty good kit. He's supposed to be, you know, kind of the starter Warframe, so he's just really well rounded. His passive, Excalibur deals 10% damage and attacks 10% faster when wielding swords. That's the big thing. This Warframe excels with any type of sword weapon that you have on. So if you have the Broken War, or if you have the Skana, or Heat Sword, anything like that, this Warframe just excels at using those. Slash Dash, it's just not good. This is probably the one ability this Warframe has that's just garbage. It's hot garbage. You shouldn't use this ability at all. Don't waste 21 energy with this frame. There's just no point in doing it. This is where we start getting to some of his really good stuff. Radial Blind is so good that you can do this to bosses. Like, you can literally just like one-shot bosses with like your weapon at really like early game. If you pop this ability and you blind them, and they don't have like any type of like shields or anything like that, you'll one-shot them. It's just so good. Like, you will do finishers on them. Finishers are basically where like you're, you know, not seen by the enemy and you're doing stealthy. Like, your stealth attack will like increase your weapon's damage by a shit ton. So this is basically just a get out of jail free card. Like, if you pop this and you're around some enemies, you can kiss like 6 or 7 of them goodbye by the time you pop that ability. It's so good. Radial Javelin. So they do get impaled on the wall. So launch of javelins towards them. Really good ability for crowd control. Just really good. Like, if you're on a mission where you want everybody to get off you, like, this is a really good ability. So, and that's why he's still an A rank Warframe. I would have probably had him at like a B, had it not been for this ability saving me a lot. And also his next ability, which is basically what everybody plays him for, Exalted Blade. Summon a pure sword of light and immense power. The damage on that is kind of iffy depending on what your actual stuff is at. Like, it just your mods and stuff on, because there's a separate modding slot for Exalted Blade. I don't think all the new players actually know that. but you can mod it differently than you can any other part of the Warframe. I think he is the only Warframe that lets you do that. And so I mean, again, you know, this weapon does a ton of damage. This ability, really, it's a weapon and an ability. He's really the only Warframe that really has something like that. Um, so it's definitely worth having this Warframe. I don't know why anybody would start out with something different other than this Warframe, just because he's the best starter Warframe. I know a lot of people like talk about Mag and Vault. I actually just crafted Mag, and after playing her for a little bit, I don't know why you would choose her over Excalibur. Excalibur is just so good because of this ability, this, and this. Not really necessarily his one, but basically that. So, and my Excalibur looking clean, boy. Now, another super good Warframe. I actually did not craft this Warframe till recently. Passive, his passive's alright. It's, I guess, if you kind of are getting, like, crunched up on, which you shouldn't be as Frost, but even if you do, 10% chance to freeze the attacker for 20 seconds. That's really good if you get hit by melee attack. So if you're getting just, like, kind of, like, with the infested, you know, if they're all kind of, you know, ganging up on you, you have a chance to freeze them in their tracks and kind of get away from them, or spam the ability and just crush them right there. Freeze, I don't know what it is with this ability, but sometimes it just doesn't seem like it works. Like, if I hit somebody with a freeze, sometimes they just won't freeze. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's with the game or whatnot, but they just won't, they will not freeze. It's not like Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat, where if you hit somebody with the ice ball, they actually freeze. With him, it just seems like it just kind of like staggers them a little bit. It doesn't really freeze them. So if they do a rework on this Warframe, they need to fix this immediately. Because the ability says, oh, it freezes them in their tracks. No, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't. If you go to a higher level area too, this will not freeze someone. You will waste your energy. Do not use this ability. This ability's trash. This ability, however, is really good. Just basically, you know, you kind of do like a ground pound and like send like shards out in front of you. Does really good damage. Actually does stagger and freeze them. So, really good ability. A good crowd control ability too. We also had the best, in my opinion, the best defensive ability in this game. Snow Globe. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone into a defense mission, popped this ability, and gotten to wave 20 without having to do anything. Besides just shoot them in the face. And stab them. Like, this ability is so good that every time I do a defense mission, it essentially, basically, it's not only does it slow everybody that goes in there, it can freeze them, it can, you know, you basically have just a god sphere around you, where, you know, if somebody does get in, you can have enough time to kill the enemy in front of you, turn around, and then kill that enemy, and then go back to your original position. It's so good. It's the best defensibility in the game, in my opinion. I know a lot of people like to talk about Nidus and other people for like defense and survival missions, but there's nobody who does defense abilities better than this guy, just because of that one ability. It's broken. It's broken as fuck, honestly. And then we have Avalanche. I usually don't really pop this ability unless I'm just completely surrounded. But the radius is really good, explosion damage is really good, duration, armor reduction. That's basically what you use it for. If you're getting kind of, you know, bumfucked by a bunch of enemies rushing towards you, really good ability to pop. So Frost is definitely a Warframe. I know a lot of people like to say, he's kind of average, or he's really good. No, for defense missions and just for missions in general, for the star chart, he's really good. Um, he's absolutely fantastic. Um, I don't know if I said it before. Excalibur's an A, obviously. Excalibur's the kind of the main line of Warframe. I just started playing this Warframe. This Warframe is an A plus. This is an A plus Warframe. I don't even have this thing leveled up all the way. So let's just look at his stats before I go into his abilities. Look at his health. Look at his health. 3,740. This is with an Orkin cell too. I usually try to save up my Orkin, or my Orkin reactors or Orkin catalysts with whichever one it was. I usually try to save them up for my new Warframes whenever I get them. Usually I have enough platinum. Maybe if I don't have one, I could just spend 20 platinum to build an Orkin catalyst for him, and he'll be pretty solid. But yeah, that's basically most you need to know about those Warframe. I mean, look at the health. I mean, he's got no shields, but he has armor, energy. He's got pretty good duration on his abilities right now. Level 17. Passive. While bleeding out, an Aris becomes entombed by a protective sarcophagus. He can revive himself by draining the life force of nearby enemies and allies. So if you die, and there are enemies all around you, you don't have to worry about bleeding out. Let me say it again. You don't have to worry about bleeding out. You can revive yourself, and you'll get more health from his other abilities. Like for this one, desiccation. Blasting enemies with cursed sand blinds them and steals their health. Pretty good for like health steal. You'll basically incapacitate them for a little bit, and then do whatever you want to. You manhandle them however you want to do with it. His 2 hold power to trap a target in quicksand and draw them devouring. It steals health and ultimately creates a friendly sand shadow. So you get basically a a little follower out of it. And it's really good on that case. Sandstorm, even at level 1, this not weapon, but this I keep saying weapon. This ability is really good because you just basically become an invulnerable wrecking ball of death, and you'll kill everything in the vicinity. It's just stupid. Scarab Swarm. So you basically hold a triangle on this ability, and you turn your health into Scarab Armor. So you can the last moves of the Scarab Swarm. If anyone survives this, they have their health drain, and it's given to, whether it's your squad mates or maybe yourself. It's super good. This Warframe's A+. And like I said, he's not even ranked all the way up. Ivara. So this Warframe, I think she's kind of tricky to play if you don't really know how to play her, but because she's kind of squishy, I mean, she doesn't like us, she's max rank, doesn't really have a whole lot.
Operator, now get out there and
Jesus,
and make the Lotus proud.
shut up, Jesus, Ortis over here talking nonsense, but so she automatically has a scan, senses enemies within 20 meters, pretty good for stealth missions. She's definitely starting to become one of my go-to stealth mission Warframes, just because she's fantastic. So she does have I think you really need to use a bow with her. If you use really any weapon, she do too much because she's meant to use a bow. Quiver is really good. She has a bubble one and noise one, sleep arrows, and you can kind of change them intertwined with whatever arrow you want to choose at the time. So she can be good on that aspect. Um, Navigator is still really good for stealth missions because look at that. I mean, you can would fire the arrow through them and keep going. Um, so it's uh it's pretty good. Just as far as that goes. Prowl is what I really use this Warframe for. You become invisible and you can steal loot from them, or you can just snipe them, or uh, do a takedown with her. Um, Still really good, really good Warframe. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it basically just makes you invincible. Artemis bow, that's where you get your basically. I say Excalibur was one of the only ones, I believe. She's also one of the only Warframes that has a secondary like power up, other weapon ability. And so basically, this weapon just makes you, the bow master, and it's really good. I'm actually texting while I'm trying to talk about this ability too. Uh, and the best, I mean, this Warframe's, pretty much solid A. I don't think she's an A plus by any means, because her squishiness kind of takes her out of that. Um, if you mod her to do prowl all the time you're doing the mission, she's A plus. If you don't, she's an A. Um, Basically, the big difference between with her. Limbo. Um, Go over his passive. Dodge to enter and exit the rift. Entering leaves behind a small rift portal lasting 5 seconds. Energy slowly recharges in the rift, and each enemy killed in there also gives 10 energy. I honestly think this Warframe is A+. It's one of the very early Warframes that you get from doing a quest in the game. And I don't see any really downside to going into the Rift. You become invincible. Like you're like Madara Uchiha. You enter the world of Limbo, and you can't be touched. Like you have a shadow clone that enters the world of Limbo, and you can do whatever you want to in there. You can just sit there and just, you gotta take a pee break, enter the world of Limbo. You gotta text a girlfriend, enter the world of Limbo. You want to fuck a bad bitch for 30 minutes, into the world of Limbo. Like you can literally, you could literally do whatever you need to do outside of the game if you're in Limbo. It's ridiculous. You become an unkillable death machine. And I think the strange thing about it though is that once you're in that world, you can't kill anything, unless you're using his 4, which we're going to get to here in a second. But if you just do the dash thing, you're going to have a hard time. If you actually use him for the first time, you're trying to figure out, hey, why can't I hit anything in the Limbo world? Well, it's because you have to pop his 4 first. And the bad thing about their ultimate abilities, these Warframes, is that you don't get them until level 10. So you actually can't use that ability until you get to level 10. And so that can be kind of annoying for new players who are like, why can't I hit anything? I just hit Banish on somebody. Speaking of that, the first ability he has, Banish. Cast a wave of rift energy that damages hostiles while pushing enemies and allies out of Limbo's current plane of existence. So you can either push them into the void or out of the void. If you hit them with it while you're in the void, they'll be sent to the real world. If you hit them while you're in the real world, they'll be sent to the rift. And so you basically just, hit them with that, dash into the rift world, and then hit them there. Although I wouldn't recommend that. I would just hit them while you're in the real world, and then just send them into the Rift world, and they basically can't, they can't hurt you. Stasis, so basically, if they're already Rift bound from Banish, you can basically freeze them. Um, if they're active, the projectiles are actually in midair. They can't. Once the stasis ends, they'll still go. But by that time, you're probably already like 250 meters away. I mean, it's for that. Yeah, it's pretty good. Rift Surge. So if they're bound by the Rift with Rift Energy, if they're killed with that, they're transferred to an enemy outside of the Rift. So if you hit them with something and they die, it gets transferred to their partner right next to them. Surge enemies that leave the Rift perform a radial banish. So that basically means that your one ability gets taken into account if they get surged and they basically get hit by that, they'll basically do a banish for you, so you actually don't have to use your banish again if you use Rift Surge. Cataclysm, one of his best abilities. If not his best ability, I still think his passive is actually his best ability because you basically become invincible. But this is you become invincible, and you basically get them into your plane of existence, and you become untouchable to enemies outside of it. But the enemies that come into it, you basically just get to just wreck them. While everybody else is trying to come in and try to kill you, you just pop Cataclysm. They can't do anything about it. GG. So I would say this Warframe's A+. I know a lot of people may disagree with me on that, just based off of some of his builds and things like that, but just based off his abilities, like just his regular abilities and how you can maybe mod for them differently, I actually ended up doing a excavation mission with a really good Limbo player who had spent a lot of resources into Limbo. We, I think, went for 20 rounds, or no, it was more than that. I think it was 26 or 27 rounds of excavation while I was Rhino. And I literally couldn't die because I have Rhino's Iron Skin, and then I go into the Cataclysm that the Limbo cast, and I'm invincible. There's no one that can kill you if you're a Rhino, a good Rhino build like I have, and a good Limbo build. You just can't die. It's absolutely ridiculous, and that's why I think that Warframe's A+. I don't think they'll rework this Warframe. I don't think he needs reworked, honestly. Which brings me to Loki. Look at my shiny Loki. So his passive, able to hang from walls 10 times longer than normal. It's... I guess it's good if you're on Lua and you're doing some stealth missions and stuff, because you actually have to do a little mini game where you hang on the walls, but it's just not a good passive anymore. I think his passive should honestly be for his invisibility, because that's the thing that people use him for. They just use Loki invisibility, go in and kill people from the shadows, and that's what he's supposed to be. So I think his passive should honestly be changed if they rework this Warframe. If they ever rework this Warframe. He's an A. He's a solid A. Decoy. Fools enemies, they'll attack that, and you basically get a free shot on them. Invisibility. Camouflage himself, he's invisible, so you can do whatever you want to at that point. Switch teleport. You swap positions with it, which is basically like a Sasuke Uchiha, Rinnegan, you swap instantly with them. And it confuses them, makes them disoriented. You can basically get the kill on them if you need to. You can that ability is basically just a fuck around ability. If you're in trouble and a lot of people are on you, but you still want to come in on them and do that. What I like to do is do a switch teleport with one of them in a big crowd, and then use his 4, which is radial disarm, which is still really good. And they basically all have to knife you. they can't pick up their weapons. They all get disarmed, and it's really good. This is it's still one of the original OG crowd control abilities, and it's still really good. If you're surrounded, pop this ability. They can't do anything about it because they can't pick up their weapons anymore, and you just torch them with whatever, you know, melee weapon or whatever weapon you got for him. So we do have one of the weapons that I'm actually about to max out, or one of my Warframes about to max out, which is Mag, who is one of the 3 starting Warframes. So you have Excalibur, Mag, and Volt. It used to be Excalibur, Mag, and Loki, I think, but they switched it up. But so Mag, passive, bullet jumping pulls in nearby items for easy collection. Can be good for farming if you're, you know, trying to go through farming pretty quickly. That's pretty good passive still. However, there are way better Warframes for farming. Necros is the god of farming, so we're gonna get to him a little bit, but yeah, this pass is alright. It's kind of trash sometimes too, honestly. But if you're trying to go through a map pretty fast, it can still be good. So you pull magnet force pulls enemies towards you, stunning them, bringing them into melee range. So still pretty good ability. Just basically a scorpion get over here type of ability. Can be good in certain scenarios. Magnetize. Magnet field around a target, ensnaring enemies and dealing damage over time. The field reacts to bullets charge grid back from pulverize to increase the damage. So basically you want to pop your 3, then go with 2. Her 3 emits an energy pulse that depletes enemies' shields and armor, which is really good against like Corpus enemies and Grineer. Really good against them. Because that's all they are. They're armored and shielded units. So you basically just pop that, and the area effect is just stupid. Even at her rank right now that I have her at, it's dumb. And this is not even fully ranked up yet. Shields of allies touched by the pulse are also restored. So that's really good in a squad. Like if you pop this while your teammates are beside you, their shields get replenished immediately. Really good for team fights, like against the boss or against a large wave of enemies. You can just pop that, your teammates are gonna get their shields back, so it's really good. Crush is basically, if a lot of you have seen the new trailer for the beginning of Warframe, like when you log into your account for the first time, which they're gonna implement. One of the abilities that she uses in the trailer for that's really cool looking. Basically like almost like a Force Unleashed type of ability. Magnetizes the bones of anybody, causing them to collapse upon themselves. Really good. Really good. Still a really good crowd control ability. With all that being said, she's still a really solid Warframe. I'm not gonna give her an A. She's a B plus. She's really good. But I just think her 1, like kind of like Excalibur, is kind of crap. But with Excalibur's 1, at least it does damage. Her pull ability just doesn't really do a whole lot of damage. Like, I mean, you can kind of pull them in so you can use Pulverize and Magnetize, but compared to her, like, other abilities, it's not as good, and it's not as good especially for like Plains of Eidolon and stuff like that. This Warframe I feel like struggles hard in Plains of Eidolon. Like, you should not bring this Warframe into Plains of Eidolon. She just won't do enough. She won't do enough damage. She won't do enough. She's not efficient in Plains of Eidolon or in Orvalis for going back onto I think Orvalis is on Mercury or Venus, whichever one, but she's not really good in open world, put it that way. Mirage. So this Warframe is kind of weird. I basically just built this Warframe to kind of have her get my master rank up. I never really used her a whole lot, besides, of course, you know, just kind of fool around with her before the video, but slightly less 85% rugged, acrobatic maneuvers are 50% faster, so she's a pretty fast Warframe. Hall of Mirrors creates an entourage of doppelgangers for using to distract enemies. This doesn't really do it. This ain't it, fam. Because yes, It can do it, but if they shoot the first one in front of you as like a distraction, it'll still end up hitting you. The bullet will still end up hitting you. So they really, once this gets ranked up, it's not really useful anymore, because if you have just like your first and second rank, they'll attack the ones on the side. But if they attack the one in the middle, you're still getting hit by everything. So, not really a good one. Sleight of hand, I never really liked this ability. You booby trap nearby objects, and they basically you're just, uh, get caught in an explosion. This ability is hard garbage, because what if you don't have any objects nearby? You're just fucked. Like if you're in an open area with no objects nearby, this ability becomes absolutely useless. So she's really good for like ship missions and stuff. I usually use her on like a lot of like stealth ship missions where I have to maneuver around a lot. Eclipse, however, really good. Standing in light mirage deals heavy damage, while the shadows make mirage very difficult to track and even harder to hurt. This ability is basically what makes her good. So I would say B minus to B, depending on how you build for this ability in particular. So really solid Warframe just based off of this ability. This ability basically just makes her playable. If this ability was taken out, you only had these three, she'd be like a D or an F. She just wouldn't be useful. However, this ability is really good. Prism is really good. Fires an energy prism that shoots lasers in all directions, activating again its prism, blinding nearby foes. So what I usually like to do, I usually like to pop this, and then use Eclipse, because you're standing in the light of the prism, which gives you super good damage, and basically is going to make you a DPS monster with that out. But that only while prism is out, and it costs a pretty good bit to maintain. So again, just not the best design in my opinion, but her quest is fun. Her quest is kind of annoying, but once you get her, I mean, she's pretty easy to get once you complete the message, I think, or I think it's the thing that you actually have. Necros, one of the hardest Warframes to grind for, but probably one of the easiest, probably one of the best Warframes in the game, just because. So his passive is really good. It restores 5 health with every enemy death within 10 meters. 10 meters is still a pretty good distance. So, somebody's near you and you're just slicing them through, especially on lower levels. If you get hurt by chance, you're gonna get your health back. Soul Punch, it can be useful, I guess, if you just for lower level enemies, but higher level enemies, you're not going to use this ability. What you are going to use is Terrify, so basically just cause them to run away in front of you. They turn tail, you shoot your shotgun shells in their ass when they start running away from you. Really good. This ability is the only reason you play Necros. Desecrate. Forces fallen enemies around you to drop additional loot. This is a looter-shooter, and this is a Warframe that lets you get extra loot. This is why this Warframe's an A+. Not only because his stats are really good, and his abilities are actually pretty good, but this is the reason why. If you're grinding for something in some planet, you're going to get at least double or triple the amount of resources that you originally plan on going to get there. And it just makes me so pissed off as to why this Warframe parts are hidden in the derelict. I feel like this Warframe shouldn't. This Warframe should have been one of the Warframes that you could grind for pretty good and then go from there, because for how useful he is and how late you get him in the game, I don't know if it's exactly fair, to be quite honest. I know this game is actually extremely fair to new players and for veteran players, but grinding for this Warframe is just not. It's absolutely not. It's not worth it. I actually ended up buying him because I watched a couple of videos about what it took to grind him, and I was like, oh, what is it? You know, how many times do you have to kill Lephantis? Oh, 3 times. What do you need to do to craft the assassination thing? Oh, we have to do the navigation to get the Lephantis, which means you probably have to do a shit ton of derelict missions to actually get those. Then you have to go back, fight Lephantis, hope to God he drops the part that you need, and then go from there. It's stupid. Shadows of the Dead, really good ability. Doesn't really cost too much for what they're asking for, as far as like what you're, you know, basically just you're a necromancer. You summon the dead enemies that you killed to be on your side, and they will actually spawn at the same level that the enemies that you're fighting at the time. So that's pretty useful. Yeah, he's A plus without a doubt. A plus. Also, solid A Warframe right here. I would venture to say either A or A plus, just because of his abilities. Passive, slide 60% faster and go 35% farther. I use him a lot for mobility if I don't want to use Rhino for like a pretty quick extract mission, because he's a faster Rhino. That's all he is. He's a faster one because you got this right here. Scorching enemies, cleansing allies, teleporting blast landing area with a ring of fire. You basically use this just to give you like a volt effect, like you're going to be able to move a lot faster, and you heal your allies for some status ailments and stuff. So that can actually be a pretty good support ability. If they go inside the fire, you can actually get the support ability going on there. Chakram, Blazing Chakram actually does a deceptive amount of damage, because you have damage and your boosted damage. Because flaming enemies drop restoration of charge to amplify the power of the ring, and reactivate to instantly travel to the ring's location. So you can actually warp. You can teleport with this, and it's really good. Again, deceptive amount of damage. You just probably see the damage right there, and you're like, okay. But the boosted damage, that's what you do it for. Warding Halo, it's basically Iron Skin like Rhino, except you're in a faster Warframe. You get a protective ring. You don't have to worry about taking, poison damage or corrosive damage, electrical damage. You're basically just going to eat all that with this. And it actually damages enemies who get too close, so it actually does damage to people who try to, like, fuck with you. Divine Spears, I usually don't use this ability too much unless it's just, I'm surrounded again. It's a really good crowd control ability. So you can actually damage them while they're on the spikes. But it's pretty good, I would say. So, again, A to A plus Warframe so far when I've played him. And I've played him a lot, actually, recently. Him and Rhino, of course, but we have our boy Nidus. I'm actually thinking about investing some platinum once I get enough into one of his costumes. I don't know if anybody's actually seen this costume. But I really want that skin. I want actually this entire collection right here, because you get the skin, you get the claws, you get the you get the Kubro armor too. So you get armor for your Kubro, and you get a different skin for your Kubro, like to make them a little bit more demonically, and you get a Seadana, which looks pretty dope too. Like it's got the wings on the back of it and stuff. It looks pretty sick. So I'm gonna try to sell my way up to that platinum to get that, or if I just feel like buying some platinum, I'll do it. But and you also have this skin right here too, which is designed by MZ Dasher. That looks sick too. I'm sure when you get like his abilities fully developed or whatever, he probably gets like sick looking neat on that. But this Warframe's A plus. Let's just look at his passive. So The thing about this Warframe that you want to try to do is basically just build up his stacks, and I'll show you how to do that here with just his abilities. But if Nidus is killed with at least 15 stacks of mutation, those 15 stacks are consumed. This grants 5 seconds of invulnerability and restores health to 50%. You basically get a free revive. And on, you know, survival missions or anything, if you're, you know, I've got stacks that I've had up to 80 before. And there were times where I died like 2 times or 3 times. I didn't have to worry about dying. Because I know he's just gonna revive. It's really good. This is what I do for most of my stacks. This is basically the best way to get your stacks up. Virulence, you do like a ground pound at the beginning of your stack building. Doesn't do too much. Doesn't really have a good energy refund, of course, just from what you see at the bottom there. But for every 5 enemies hits, the infestation mutates, multiplying its destructive force. So every time you're hitting something and you get your stack increase, you are getting more and more damage, and your Warframe is actually physically evolving, which is what the coolest thing for this Warframe actually is. Larva, really good ability. Doesn't cost you any stacks, and basically just puts them in a magnetized loop of death, and they actually take damage while they're in there too. The drain's not bad for that either if you mod it right. Parasitic Link requires no energy. It does cost 1 stack though, but it's completely worth it. Because just imagine you attach that to a boss and you just sit there and take damage to a boss, and you let go of the link. They take all the damage that you took while they were linked to you, and sometimes that damage can be catastrophic. So link enemies take the damage inflicted upon Nidus, you know, and for both, like if you do it to an ally, they get increased damage. And I don't know why you would actually do it to an ally, but I guess if you wanted to boost their damage, you could. Ravenous costs 3 stacks and is a really good ability. They basically just get swarmed upon. You control the infestation. You enter God mode, especially if you have enough stacks where you can just sit there and spam your virulence again, your 1, and basically you just become an unstoppable death machine. This Warframe's amazing. Haven't really played a lot of Nova recently besides today, but passive, when knocked over, emits a 6-meter defensive burst, topples attacking enemies, and deals 250 damage. Can be good if you're especially fighting for something like the Corpus or the Infested. Can be pretty good because you might get knocked down by a ancient healer or something like that, and or even a runner. I mean, you could still be knocked by one of those, and you'll still end up being pretty good. Null Star creates an animated powers that orbit Nova and seek nearby targets. Each active particle gives plus 5% damage reduction to Nova's health, stacking up to 90%. Still pretty good. Antimatter drop. This is dope. Launches a contained particle of antimatter that will detonate upon a collision with increased deadlines when targeted by weapons. Still really good. Wormhole's pretty good too. You basically just get to teleport wherever you want to. Liquor primes all enemies with volatile antimatter. That was a yawn right there. Basically you use this and antimatter drop. I've heard of people getting like 10,000 damage on like enemies just by doing those two. I actually haven't been able to do that because my build's not good enough for her. I haven't really invested a lot in her, but she still does, you know, a really decent amount of damage. So, just because of my build for her, I mean, and I don't really use her that often, I'd put her at like maybe a B+. Yeah, she's still a good Warframe. And now we gotta talk about this Warframe. Oh, jeez. Enemies are 20% less accurate when targeting next. So automatically, her passive you would think is really good, because they automatically are missing 20% of their shots taken at you. That's, I mean, the passive's really good. Like, with the more they shoot at you, 20% of the bullets are not going to hit you, or 20% of the energy, whatever. Um, Mind control would be so good if you could do multiple targets. You can only do one target at a time for your mind control. This Warframe is like a D. It's probably my only Warframe that I think I actually have that I really would like to play, but just because for a kit, it's just not good. Psychotic bolts, cluster of bolts at enemies, yeah, not good. I mean, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It does a debuff, I guess, yeah, but so what? You know, there are Warframes that not only maybe debuff enemies, but have DPS too. Chaos causes mass hysteria on the battlefield by kids who are attacking random factions. That can be good in Crossfire. If you like have this Warframe in a Crossfire mission, that can be pretty good. But any other time they're going to use that's not really good. Her best ability is this. Her fort, which actually doesn't cost a lot of energy, and you can charge it, and she absorbs all incoming damage channels that collect into you to explosive radial discharge. The only problem with this ability is that the AI is actually smart enough to know once you pop this ability, they start backing away, like pretty quickly too. Like they'll still fire at you, but they'll back away. And by the time you pop it, you get half of the people that you would have caught in the blast originally. So this is probably her best ability besides mind control, and it's just not useful. This Warframe just sucks right now. I know that's not what people want to hear. Like, they're like, oh, well, you know, like, it depends on how you build it and stuff. Yes, it depends on how you build it. But the best build for her right now is not for Warframe ability usage. It's for her shields and her defense. That's what you have to build her for. And in a game like Warframe, where they don't really prize too many times on defense, in certain scenarios you can, it's really good, but her abilities are just a really bad mix of offense and defense. It's just bad. They need to rework this Warframe immediately. Still keep this ability. Just have this ability control multiple targets and do something with these, and you might have a solid B Warframe. Speaking of solid Warframes, we got this guy right here, Oberon. Allied pets receive 20% health, armor, shield buds. In addition, your pet receives an instant revive per mission. Really good if you're obsessed with your pet. Smite, really good. Single target attack. It can do some pretty good damage to him. Hallowed ground, inflict damage to anybody near that stands in the flames. It says flames, but it's grass. You know, and it says righteous fire. It's not righteous fire. It's grass, essentially, that they have. Really good ability there too. Super solid ability. Renewal, probably one of, if not his best ability. Basically, you just get to take a lot of damage, and then you get to heal. You'll heal like 300, 400 health. It's pretty good. You get armor. You get health per second if you still have it active. Initial heal 100. Actually, 143 is the initial heal. And buff duration, drain energy targets. They're really good. Just fantastic. Reckoning, really good crowd control ability, similar to Hallowed Ground. Hallowed Ground is a really good crowd control ability, but this Reckoning is really good crowd control ability. He's pretty much an A+ Warframe. I don't think he has any flaws right now. Smite maybe, but you can mod for that. And we have the OG A+ Warframe. You made a shockwave dealing 100 damage after landing from the great height. You basically just get to do the Juggernaut Grand Land or whatever it is. Rhino Charge. Rhino Charge is actually his worst ability. It's not bad by any means, but it's compared to everything else, it's just objectively his worst ability. Iron Skin, you basically can solo the entire star chart with this ability alone. And guess what? I actually have. Because I only used Rhino for a pretty good bit. I actually ended up buying the Rhino skin that you're seeing right now. I did like the Paladin Rhino thing. He just doesn't take damage. And it's just really good for boss fights, because bosses sometimes have a really bad habit of like knocking you through your shields. They'll knock you down, and then while you're down, they'll just delete your health. With Rhino, you don't have to worry about that, because Iron Skin just protects you from knockdown, protects you from damage to your shields and health. And then, even if they do get past it, you can just pop it again, and then keep doing damage. It's so good. Roar is really good. All Warframes increase damage for a short duration of time. And damage increase, you get over 50% damage increase for everybody on your team and yourself. So usually what I like to do if I'm going up against the boss, pop Iron Skin, pop Roar, and you're going to melt them immediately for most of the time. If you have a good enough weapon, of course. Rhino Stomp, one of the best crowd controlled abilities in the game. Everybody pops up in the air. You get to have basically a shooting gallery with them. It's dumb. A+ Warframe, nothing really too much after that to say about him. Valkyr, I don't think I actually really liked this frame once I built her. But then I kind of grew to like her because she's really the only scrapper in the game. Recover 50% faster from being knocked down. And Ripline, Scorpion, basically this is kind of the same thing as I forgot what the other Warframe was that does that. Nova. Basically like Nova's, except this actually does some good damage to him. 690 damage, which is really good. Combo, it even shows you a combo window, because the funny thing about this Warframe that we're going to get to with her fourth ability is really good. Warcry lets out a round Warcry that bolsters allies' melee speed while slowing down nearby enemies. That can be good, really good crowd control ability in the right moment, and if you have a team with you, that can be pretty devastating. Paralysis unleashes her shield, stunning and damaging enemies around her. This ability would be good, but I don't know why she has to use her shields for it. It's counterproductive, because her shields are already really low, and you're gonna burn your shields to try to get maybe some damage to what, 5-6 enemies? It just doesn't seem like they were really thinking when they put this ability on this Warframe. However, this ability makes up for it. Imbued with energy, becomes a ball of vicious rage, capable of unleashing a torrent of deadly claw attacks on its facing foes. So she's also one of the other Warframes like Excalibur and Ivara that actually has a Warframe specific level 4 or 4th ability, where she doesn't actually use her weapons or anything like that. She actually uses a Warframe weapon specific to her. It just happens to be like a melee build. It's claws. But she's invincible when she does this. You can't hurt her, which makes her really good. If you can spam this and keep getting energy and spamming this rank 4 ability, oh, it's dumb. It's absolutely stupid. And she can just go through like waves of low level enemies, like fodder enemies. She can go through them super quick. And you just don't have really an answer for it. You don't. But her rank, I would say, is a good B+. Because I think there are Warframes that do her job better and can do it more efficiently. But Hysteria is just so good that she can't be an A, but she can't be a B or a B-. She has to be B+. Vauban. So again, a Warframe that I really don't have a whole lot of experience playing as of right now. Deals 25 extra damage to incapacitated enemies, so I guess they're knocked down or something like that. Tesla, basically a grenade. and you can change the traps that you use for your Tesla. So you can basically do, you know, bounce, trip laser, shred, concussive. Can be really good. Can be really pretty useful. Trap ability, especially for defense. Vauban's pretty good for defense. I actually really like Vauban for survival and defense missions. He's pretty consistent with the defense missions because his mine layer is just really good. Bastille creates an energy-based containment field in which captures are held suspended in stasis. One of his best abilities. It's a crowd control ability. They get tossed up in the air. You fire on them, like you just move on to the next wave that comes your way. It can be really good crowd control. Next one is Vortex. Creates a really massive energy that violently attracts nearby enemies, crushing their atoms to space matter. Definitely his best ability. But it just costs a lot to do that. You really want to be surrounded when you use this move, so it kind of makes it a little bit annoying to use. I think he's a B minus. I don't think he's a C plus or a C because I think that'd be kind of giving him a little bit too less credit than what he actually can do if you use him right. But he's definitely the more focused Warframe when it comes to making sure you've got good weapons on you. Because if you have weapons and you have, you know, good defense strategy and you have good defensive options like he does, it can be pretty good. It's pretty useful. Volt now. One of the last starter Warframe that we're actually going to go over. Grounded move generates an electric charge building 5 damage per meter that is unleashed with the next attack. That can be good if you're traveling long distances and you're, you know, fighting a boss or whatever, and you let that first passive hit him, the boss, can do a pretty decent amount of damage. He's, you know, Emperor Palpatine for his one shock, you know, basically just pwn whoever he's got in front of him. Probably one of the best abilities he has, speed. You're going to get to traverse the map faster. You're going at, you know, my name is Barry Allen and I'm the fastest man alive. Like, you know, he's the Flash. And, like, this is Barry Allen in Warframe form. And you're in the Speed Force, and you just basically go wherever you want to at a fast rate, farm faster, you get through the mission faster, especially for capture missions. This Warframe is godlike for capture missions because you just melt them really quick with your weapon. You're already moving fast as fuck, and capture him, get to the extraction. There you go, and that's all it is. Electric Shield, really good ability, and the best part about it is you can carry it with you like it's portable, like you see in the video right there. It's a portable shield that can soak up a lot of damage. Is really good. I honestly think this Warframe is like Excalibur, solid A, where Excalibur and Volt are the best Warframes to start off with. Mag is not. Not because Mag's bad, but just because of how useful Excalibur and Volt's abilities actually are. Oh, they're so good. And of course, Discharge, Paralysis, Neutralysis. They basically Force Unleashed, like, you know, your super force power type of thing that he gets to do. Really good. But yes, solid A Warframe, not an A plus by any means, because I actually would like to see his I would like to get his Prime version, because I know his Prime version is really good, but he's still really good. Shield's almost at 1,000, health 700, energy 300. His armor is just kind of, yeah, his armor's kind of whatever. So we actually got into our last Warframe, Zephyr. Basically, move faster while airborne and fall, you know, 34% slower. This Warframe is basically just meant to be used. Plains of Eidolon is one really good one. Any of the open world stuff, she's really good at being used there, because she can get to a lot of places faster. Tailwind from the gun, charge and release if you want Zephyr to the air. If you're actually in the air, you can target it down, and she'll actually, like, do damage to people the further she is in the air, which is really good. Airbursts generate a mass burst of... I don't actually... If someone's watching the video, please let me know in the comments whether Zephyr is a guy or a girl. I'll probably end up looking it up after this, but I don't know if Zephyr is actually a guy Warframe, girl Warframe, whatever. But Airburst, defensive air, can be good to just have people get off you for the time being. Threats creates a windshield around Zephyr, redirecting all incoming projectiles. Pretty good. Even though it only lasts, it's kind of the bad thing. It only lasts for about 20 seconds, so you're getting a lot of energy suspended, kind of, on just hoping that nobody really shoots you that much. Tornado is really good. Fantastic ability. And depending on the elemental damage that you have on her, of course, you can pop airburst to do that and kind of increase the damage. But yeah. So hopefully by tomorrow I'll actually have Wukong, and we can actually kind of go over some of Wukong stuff. But essentially, I think really there's only one Warframe that I actually have that I'll probably not end up using too often. That's just Nyx, because just because, again, not really useful. So I think actually the best thing about Prime Warframes is that I actually don't even have to have Chroma Prime, because I have, or Chroma, because I have Chroma Prime. And so the best thing about these Prime Warframes that you can do is that when you go to your appearance, we can actually make him look like regular Chroma. But again, we're not going to do that because the original look for Chroma Prime is stupidly good. This is also the weapon, by the way, that I kind of stated that this is, just really crazy about how this weapon can really kind of get out of control pretty quickly. I think I need to farm some Forma. That's what I actually need to do. I might actually do that tomorrow, but as of right now, been a pretty good video so far, but I think we're going to go ahead and end it here. We're going to end it with a nice view. I think I'm on Sedna right now. No, Uranus. But we'll go ahead and end the stream right here. Thanks, guys, for watching. Like I said, if you end up enjoying the comments, or not the comments, but the content, if you enjoyed the content for the video, just make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, I know I usually end up advertising his channel a lot. Go check out my boy Presser Diehard. He's been putting up some really good videos recently, and I think he'll end up probably putting up one about Dragon Quest builders. I think that he ended up buying. So go ahead and check out his channel too. Me and him do a lot of collabs and stuff, just on stuff that we really like together. So really fun hanging out with Di. Hopefully we might be able to do something tomorrow. Maybe I'll have to kind of check on him and see what he's doing. But anyway, thanks for watching. This is Aries from Aries Game Productions, signing off. Peace, hair grease, etc.